Welcome back to the Lunchtime Catch Up podcast. Now, joining us tonight is the very popular YouTube channel, PommyinOz. Pommy's a Carlton fan and has been on the show before with us. G'day, Pommy. How you doing, mate?
Hey, how we doing? Hey, look, enemy territory, Englishman in Australia on a Carlton podcast. I'm on an Essendon podcast. You can't write this script.
I know,
No,
right?
look, it's fantastic to have you on, Pommy. Second time, so you're becoming a veteran now to the show, which is even crazy with it being a Carlton man. But please stay with us, Bomber fans, because Pommy's very much worth it. And if you remember, he did kind of a draft recap probably late last year with us, and that was really great because obviously Essendon had seven 18-year-olds come in, and it was really good to. And a lot of the players we were discussing, just funny enough, because I mentioned we mentioned Angus Clark and Zach Johnson. We mentioned all these guys as possible to see them come into your list, and then see them some of them winning rising stars and everything like that. It's the great part about footy of seeing a draftee come through and shine. So, but big thanks to you, mate. We've obviously got a big clash coming on. Very obviously traditional rivals that, let's be honest, the two managements can't stand each other. And that's just the way it's been for many, many, many years. And
Our entire lives, basically.
yeah, it's just ingrained where this rivalry that's gone on for so long. So, and obviously very successful historical clubs, but interesting enough, probably very similar histories as far as the last couple of decades, where both clubs are trying to really come out of a period of non-success, you would say. And Carlton pretty much looked like they were going to be the ones that were going to shine first, if I'm being blunt. As a Essendon fan, you had obviously had a great spine, brilliant midfield. So I guess with last year, what happened the second half of the year, you guys were flying. I'm interested to get where you are. It's the halfway point again. I mean, last year Carlton was struggling probably to the halfway point. They shined. Does this year feel different for you, or do you still have, just reading the names in the paper, do you still have hope that those names that somehow that will unite to a still a strong second half of the year?
It's kind of like the never-ending story, isn't it, with Cowan? It feels like we've been rebuilding since the dawn of time, and that it's almost like the last flag is becoming a little bit like Arthur and the Round Table. It's a beautiful story. I haven't seen the Round Table, and Arthur's long since left, so it's fascinating. Do I have faith in this group of footballers? It's kind of like the disappointing son, I think. I think you'll always have faith that he'll come good. But he's doing 25 years in Broadmoor, so it looks unlikely, isn't it? It's hard to say. They have been incredibly disappointing this year. And if you told me when we did the draft review together that we would be 2 wins behind Essendon and only 2 wins ahead of Richmond, I might have hung up on you, to be honest.
Yeah.
But this is where we are, and this is what we've got to get ourselves out of. No excuses, limited injury list. We're not like you guys who have got half a side out. Like, this is where it really counts now. So for the Blues, this back end of the year is a chance to really thank the AFL for a cosy draw to September. So they've got to do it. They have to do it.
Can I? What do you put it down to? Because there's still been, even though you haven't had injuries, there's still been a kind of an indifferent year. I mean, with I don't want to get into it too much, but Elijah Hollands and Harry Mackay, there's still, you wonder how much that is, how that affects the group off field, and what are you putting it down to when you see your top? Carlton's always known for me as like, well, they're top 6, man. They're like, Walsh and, obviously double Brownlow medalists and Mackay and Curnow. I mean, you always go, oh, well, their top 6 is like as good as it gets. What are you seeing it down to? Is it coach? Is it system? What is it, depth? Where are you going?
Well, I think you've got to like put a little bit of blame in every basket. I mean, as a Carlton fan, I kind of knew it was bad because when you're in March and you've seen your president's undercarriage on Twitter, yeah, there's only really one place to go down from there, and you're hoping it's uphill, but it went downhill before we've even seen the crevice. But I mean, I think the facts are the facts, aren't they? Carlton are what, the 18th worst side at converting inside 50s, top 5 for inside 50s, bottom 2 for marks inside 50s. It's obvious there's a problem because you've just talked about Coleman medalists. We've got 2 of them messing about in the forward line, and them stats themselves are as damning as you can get. We haven't got an 18-year-old and a converted key defender at full forward. We've got 2 bona fide all-Australian Coleman medalists there, and you'd expect them data to be quite good. I do think it's system. I think Michael Voss, from 2023's glory run home, where he simplified the game plan, made us more handball heavy, kind of hid all the cracks that were appearing. He's tried to make the game plan a little bit more nuanced, and unfortunately, these Blues aren't very good kicks. They aren't very good individual footballers, and you're starting to see the gap from your Collingwoods, your Geelongs, who are team-heavy system, versus Carlton that have been, if we're honest, individual-based system for probably the last decade. It's always been about the names. It's not been about the team. And you're starting to see that kind of appear in front of you. And the Blues are in a crossroads now. Do we do a Melbourne, risk losing to play a modern-day game and really try and make the most of our list? Or do we do what we always do, be a little bit arrogant, we're Carlton, we're right, and ultimately might be facing another rebuild?
Do you think there's a chance where they may make a tough call on a trade to try and fix a hole? Because a good mate of mine who's a Carlton fan, I was talking to him and I just said, look, this is just my perception from afar. I said that you have this great inside network. I said, but on the outside, that spread and that speed and class, I said, you're just killing for it. I'm like, especially the Kernos, Mackays, and that just, it's a little bit like us. We kick it very long, we bomb it long. It's not very much a system going inside. And it's probably where, you saw the mid-season draft and who you picked up. It's just to try and have some sort of run and guy with a left foot skill level. Is that fair to say as an outsider?
I'll stand by my preview this year. If Carlton aren't top 4 this year with this list, they have to make some massive changes. And ultimately, I'm a firm believer you can't win a flag in 2025 with 2-star forwards. I think it's a 1-star, a second guy that works as the auxiliary. And I don't think Carlton have found a way to make Harry and Charlie work full time. And I also don't think Chera and Walsh, when they're both fully fit, one has to sacrifice their preferred role. So Carlton are kind of like my great England team of the noughties growing up. We've got Lampard, we've got Gerrard. They don't work together though. On paper, they should. In reality, they don't. There might be someone out there that can make it work. So to answer your question, I think if Carlton aren't in the 8 this year, they have to look at Tasmania coming in. We've got no picks. You've got to try and add that glitz and class. But I'd also say you'd have to sack Michael Voss, because I think at that stage you would have seen Michael Voss doesn't want to play the modern day game. So Carlton have got a lot of work to do in the off-season. Get a modern day progressive coach, create a plan, create a player system for him and move on. So Carlton really, this is probably the most important 12 weeks of Carlton's career in the 21st century, in my opinion, because it's either a failed rebuild, which you've been building since the 90s, or you just carry on and pretend you are 16 flag champions, which unfortunately, like Essendon, it doesn't really mean anything nowadays.
You used to be. You used to be. 16 flag champions. Yeah, exactly right. Hey, it's interesting that the way you're talking about then and what you should have said in that previous question. I think there's a lot of similarities between that and how supporters like us see Essendon, in that we get a hell of a lot of inside 50s. We get we contested possessions in general. We get the ball a lot. We get the ball inside 50. we have targets in there, like 2 meter Peter and a few different people in there. We have the targets, but we're just so incredibly inefficient with the way that we go in there. And like, if I'm 100% honest, and I'll probably cop a fair amount of SH1T about this, but the way we go in there is not very skillful. And I think we lack that skill by foot on the entrances, which is probably why they've moved Nick Barton and his reasonably good foot skills into the forward line, trying to kick in the forward line. So I guess the question I've got for you is, we're looking at a list at the Essendon Footy Club when they're actually on the park. That's not too bad. On paper, not too bad, right? And I look at Carlton's list, like Scotty's mentioned, and like you just did with Chera and Walsh and Cripps, big names in the centre. Wiedering down back, McGovern's down there as well. You've got the forward line with 2 Coleman medalists in it. There's a lot of names and a lot of things that the recruitment team at your club would have said, well, there you go. How many more stars do you want me to put out on the field for you? They've done their job. The question I've got is, a bit like Essendon, we're looking going, is it the system? Because if it's the system, then it's the coach. Do you think significant player movement is required before the coach, or do you think that's a part and parcel?
Well, I think you have to have the coach before you start recruiting the players. I would love to sit Voss down for a beer off record and be like, how many of these players, when you came over here, would you have wanted on your list in an ideal world? If I had a magic wand and I could turn 8 of them into another player of similar value, how many of that 22 would you have got rid of? Because I think based on how he plays, he probably would have taken quite a few, because Carlton have drafted outside run in 2 drafts predominantly. The Ollies Hollands draft, Jackson Binns, they went mental on outside run. And ironically, Voss is the antichrist of outside run at the minute. He loves that contested ball. When I look at you guys, though, Essendon, I think Essendon have got the system. They haven't quite got the maturity in players at the minute. And I think both sides struggle from that extra kick. When I watch Collingwood play, Adelaide play, Geelong play, Dogs play, when that ball goes down the left wing or the right wing, they're looking to get back into the corridor to change the angle inside 50. Or there's that extra kick 65 out, which then opens up the angle really short. I was watching Collingwood this weekend, and the fascinating thing is they don't kick to mark. They kick to space where they can get players in to make that look good. And Adelaide this week going at 92% inside 50, everything becoming a score. The modern day game isn't get the ball inside 50 as it used to be. The old saying, just get it in the mixer and something will happen. Top teams now are getting it in there less with purpose. And I feel the difference between us and Essendon, there is a system at Essendon. I think you're just missing. I think if you put Harry and Charlie in that forward line, things would look a little bit different. With Carlton, you can see Michael Voss's mantra in 2023 was forward pressure, get the ball in, lock it in, which is code for we're not very good at getting it inside 50. We'll just tackle our way in. And that's backfired now. And you're starting to see it. But when you look at the top teams, like, you only got to look at the ladder. The disparity between Carlton and the top 4 is scary. Like, you could be watching a different game. Like, they're playing football, we're playing netball. It's like that different.
Yeah, it's actually, you raised an interesting comment, because we discussed it on the show. About 4 weeks ago, Brad Scott was asked about Essendon, saying, you're constantly winning the inside 50s and everything like that. And he made the comment and said, well, you know what? We're probably winning too much. Like, he was almost, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, the problem is we probably need to scale that down and have a more plan to have which maybe reduces inside 50s, but the quality of the inside 50s being more impactful.
Hallelujah.
And it was an interesting comment, and it was the first time probably as an Essendon fan watching that Brisbane game. It was like, oh, we're going the aggressive kick in the middle here, and then we're opening up Caddy, and suddenly Nate Caddy are like, oh, like, we're actually giving Nate Caddy a chance here to have a run and jump at the ball in space, and Peter Wright's having some marks here, and it unleashed everything down the field. No, of course we didn't win the game, but obviously we're playing Brisbane. But what it did do is give a whole lot of kids an idea of how to play the game. So it was kind of the first time we saw that. And it was just interesting. You just mentioned that before, that Brad Scott was talking about it a month ago, saying we're going to have to start working on how we change the way we do inside 50s, that the inside 50s is meaningless if we don't have a more impactful way and system of getting it forward. So I found that really interesting. So coming into the game Sunday, you've obviously had you've had the bye. Can I ask honestly, what is your expectations coming into this game on Sunday night? Like, what's your gut feel or expectation?
I'm probably the harshest Carlton fan because I'm still judging them on where they should be. Like, I'm a harsh lover of this football club. I don't believe in changing the goals. At the start of the season, Brian Cook said top four, and that's how I'll judge them, because ultimately this is an aging list. If it's not top four now, there's something wrong. So I have no issues with this being clipped, but I penciled this in as a bona fide win, round one, and it's still a bona fide win. Us and Essendon, we're at the two ends of the rebuild. You can see Brad Scott, he's playing the system he wants to play in 3-4 years' time, when these kids have borne fruit, when they start to become the senior players and the old guard retire. That's how he's playing. Carlton should be playing the system that eats the fruit. And ultimately, I'm going into this game thinking, right, okay, put this side away. What more motivation do you need? You've got a chance to get closer to leveling the ledger. You've got a chance to put one over your traditional rivals. You've got a chance to kickstart the season with the benefit of playing North and Eagles for the second time the following week. So the Blues should be looking at, this is 7-7. At worst case, we're 7-7 in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'll be interested to see how Essendon select this, but Goldie's been very good for us. I mean, like, really workmanlike, professional for his age, but he's played, for the most part, your traditional ruckman types. De Koning's a really interesting one, because if I'm Carlton, I'm going, okay, Tom, you haven't been in the greatest of form to what your talent should be, but this is a chance to run right around the ground. And you might not get every tap out, but around the ground, this is your chance to really, you have that mobility to really give Carlton almost an extra midfielder running around. So I think tactically that would be a big thing for the Blues. I'll be interested to see how Essendon, do they change that approach or try a different ruckman, even Vigo Vicentini in the VFL, who's got that mobility. But that to me is kind of where your angle is he's how you use him. I think the midfields are pretty decent. I mean, obviously Sam Walsh and Cripps are very, very strong, but I mean, yeah, Caldwell's in really good form. Sam Durham's a real bull, and Merritt's obviously Merritt. So it's an interesting midfield going head to head. It's the two ends for me. I don't know. I literally don't know which ends. It's like, for me, it's like, which ends are going to shine, which ends are going to be efficient. Or maybe the efficiency comes from the midfield and wings, but who's going to be the most efficient on the night that gets the most out of their two ends? That's how I kind of see it, Bommy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the one thing that worries me from this Matt's perspective is, as good as our midfield is, and everyone glazes it and talks about it being the sexiest thing in the world, but you look at the core data, stoppage scores, there's only 2 points between us and Essendon, and that's meant to be our one this year. You look at centre clearances, scores, and we're only 2 points ahead of you in that avenue as well per game. So for the Blues, this is where our big problem is. When you stifle our midfield, them kicks get gradually longer. When they don't have the control, they genuinely hang themselves. And I said it about the GWS game. The great thing about GWS is they gave Carlton the rope, knowing that we will tie the hangsman's knot, we'll find the chair, we'll stand on it, We'll put it round our necks, and we'll even do the courtesy of jumping off the chair as well. I was like, that's what GWS did. They just said, right, okay, let's make it a little bit harder for him, and eventually the Blues will hang themselves. And I'm genuinely concerned about that. And TDK, his biggest issue is Todd Goldstein, because I always say the reason I'm reluctant to pay him over $1 million is you put him against Max Gorn, you put him against any athletic ruckman, he looks like Johnny Big Bollocks. But you put him against the old, hard, tough guy, it's almost like he's the baby brother and he's got to prove his masculinity, and he gets into these wrestling matches. You saw it last week. Yeah. You saw it last week with Briggs. He should have battered Briggs, but he spent 4 quarters almost arm wrestling the guy. When you're screaming at the telly, mate, God bless you with better looks, better speed and agility. Run this guy into the ground, but he couldn't do it. So Goldstein's one of the best, isn't he? He's been there, he's done it. He's seen these young pups. He's beaten them up as a young pup. He's beaten them up as an old man. He will know, you know what, let's test this boy out. Let's see if this boy wants it. And that concerns me, because TDK hides all of Carlton's flat-footedness with his agility. It makes our midfield look a little bit smarter and quicker when he's on. That could be a problem for the Blues if Goldstein does what the big ruckmen do, create that separation between him and his support network, get in the way of that handball, and you can overrun Carlton's midfield. And we've seen that probably the last 6 weeks. Successfully, teams have deployed that tactic.
No, you're right. And I'm curious, who would play on a guy like Caddy? Because would it be a Haynes kind of style of play? Because one thing I noticed even with Caddy, Harris Andrews, as mobile as he is, just couldn't stay with him. And it's probably Caddy's strength, right? He can run like a midfielder. But I'm interested because I don't see Wiedering probably more the Peter Wright kind of matchup. But who's kind of the obvious choice that would go to an Caddy?
Well, I watched the Brisbane game really intriguingly, and it's fascinating. Something I've been talking about a lot at the start of the year was people have started to find Wiedering and almost target him. And we've seen this over the last couple of weeks. And you did a very similar tactic. Peter Wright stayed at full forward, tried to force one key defender to be separated from his support network, and it worked an absolute treat. And you'd imagine that Peter Wright is going to be doing that job again with Wiedering. Try and get him at fullback, try and get him away from his support network, and we try and isolate him and give the other guys something to worry about. And we know Mitch McGovern, he's at times got the defence of the French during World War II. It's very worrying. Nick Haynes, he prefers to play loose and attack the ball. So I think Jack Silvani, on his return, he should be fit and able. I'd imagine he's the one who's going to be looking at Nate Caddy and going, look, if I can help my buddy out, Jacob, we've got a chance here. And it's going to be fascinating because that's the one area I looked at this week and I was like, we can hurt Essendon. The worst tackling side inside 50, the worst forward half pressure side inside 50. A big issue with my Blues is we don't move the ball quick enough from the back half. This is the opportunity here of winning that ball and slingshotting and getting the ball inside 50. So I think Caddy will have to see Jack Silvani, which is great for the story, isn't it? Because one thing I trust with Jack is he knows the history of this game. It's in his DNA. He knows I don't lose to Essendon.
Oh, and look, he's been. If you had who are the 3 breakout players this year, he would be it. He'll be right at the top of the list. He's had a sensational year. Carlton, for me, I always feel worried when I say something that you go, oh no, that's completely wrong. But for me, on the outside, I go, look, I'll be honest, Motlop just not working. And is there somewhere where you guys can fix the small forward kind of area when the ball hits the ground?
Genuinely worries me, Scott, an Essendon fan realising that Motlop shouldn't be in the midfield. It must be Michael Voss is the only one who isn't aware Jesse Motlop isn't a midfielder. This is terrifying me. One person out of however big Australia is, and he's our coach. For me, Jesse Motlop playing in the midfield, I understand what Voss is trying to do. He wants a point of difference there, and maybe
He wants to pick it, right?
yeah, maybe he's watched the AFL and we see Isaac Ranke now as a midfielder tearing it up, Pickett doing it for mid, and he's looked at our list and gone, oh, we've got the dynamic Indigenous forward. Jesse Motlop, maybe that's the secret. And unfortunately, Jesse, in my opinion, I will be very disappointed. I love Jesse, love him to pieces, but this guy is an out and out goal sneak, full forward pocket type player. Don't want him around the ball. I don't want him there. I fear if he plays in this game because I think Carlton match up very well. We've been giving him a lot of midfield time. I dread to think what your outlet balls will do if Jesse's in that midfield, particularly players like Jide Colwell, who seems to find that weak link in the midfield quite quickly and look to tear it down. I'm hoping Jesse's playing VFL this week, in all honesty. I'm hoping he's having the week off, but he has to play in the forward line. Like Jesse, anyone who watched him as this guy, the only time I want him in the midfield is when he's changing ends at quarter time.
Yeah.
Nice. Mate, I genuinely am very interested in this game because there are a lot of similarities between Essendon and Carlton. Like you said, there's a lot of things that we're not doing well that are obvious, and there's a lot of areas to improve, and there's, like you said, players that potentially are that they're just not performing when you can see the talent in there. One of the elements of Essendon's performances under Brad Scott is there's a perception that there's a little inflexibility. If things are going bad, or if things aren't really working for a player or a system or something down back or down forward, or there's a lack of willingness to change mid-game, to chuck somebody down, to chuck an extra man in defence or something along those lines. Do you see that with Voss as well?
Oh, 100%. Carlton have got a plan B. It's trying to put as many people behind the ball as possible. And we see us resort to that very quickly as well when things slightly go wrong. Voss likes to, how often do you see, if you watch Carlton game, Harry or Charlie pop up at fullback as Carlton really drag players behind the ball and just try and get a bit of control. I think it maybe is unfair. I think when I look at Essendon, I look at the things that worry me. I always look at midfields and looking at the data. Murray, Martin, Clark, Caldwell, Durham, they all average around 6 score involvements a game. So that says to me there's a spread. There isn't a daddy of that midfield. They all will muck in. And that's where Carlton do struggle when there's too much options for us to target. And we saw it the last couple of weeks. Gus Clark, one of my boys in the draft, his ability to get on the end of things, they're the kind of things that you do with Carlton, because Carlton will be happy in your stoppage style game plan. We want to play that. The skill is if you can make Carlton play that for a little bit too long, and then you have the point of difference like your Gus Clarks, your Caldwells, who I'm a big fan of Caldwell, very direct running patterns. Carlton struggle with that. Nick Martin on the outside, Carlton struggle with that as well if you can spread. That's probably where Carlton will be looking at this midfield, saying we've got to gain ascendancy, we've got to control this. But that's also our kryptonite. And the last couple of weeks, you've seen it. We've had that dominance at times, but it's killed us with how we use it and how the opposition use the ball.
Yeah, one of the interesting things that Scott has changed is the last 2 weeks. So just the last 2 weeks, he's predominantly used Nick Martin as a midfielder, and it's something that we were crying out pre-season. We're saying, look, Nick Martin. The reason why is because I see the Nick Dacos in that. I'm not saying he's at that level, but I go, well, this is exactly our Nick Dacos right here. Like he should be in the midfield. Colwell, Durham, you can use Merritt around various places for half forward, wing, half back to just help out in other areas. And so the last 2 weeks, he's played his 2 best games for the year, and it's the first 2 times he's played in the midfield. And last week, I thought in Brisbane, it was the first time I honestly would say this. I'm trying to take off my bias hat and went, that's as closest to Nick Dacos as I've seen an Essendon player. Like it was 30 possessions, 2 goals, just class all over the field.
Damaging, really damaging.
It'll be interesting to see if he persists with that, because I think that mix with the Caldwell out, Caldwell released to Martin, and Martin spreads and runs out. It just looked like a really good balance for the first time in a long time. So I'll be interested to see how they sort of do that. But yeah, it's a really interesting clash, mate. My gut feel is that that Carlton are favourites by about a couple of goals. That's just my gut feel. I think we're going to put in a good performance. I worry sometimes about how happy everyone is over that Brisbane game. It's a loss, but sometimes my history says with young sides that they can just be a roller coaster. And I don't really know. I know you guys beat us in the wet recently, but the forecast is for like 80% rain. What's Carlton like as a wet weather team?
Very roller coastery in the last couple of years. If this was the Bolton Teague years, I'd be quite confident with the wet, because for some reason that seemed to make them green shoots grow. It was in the dry that it concerned me. I was trying to petition to get the club to play back home in the north of England, because it rains all the time. I was like, we'd be undefeated. It's tough for the Blues. I mean, it will help in the terms of it slows us down. Our susceptibility on scores and turnover and things like that. Obviously, when it's wet, it's harder to take a mark. It's harder to be clean. So it kind of helps Carlton in a way. But I think it also helps you. Like, I watched the Brisbane game, and I'm glad, Scott, you're happy, because I watched that game and I was like, if I was an Essendon fan here, we dominated from stoppage against an incredible midfield. And I don't care what anyone says. I know turnover is the most important thing. Defensive half scores are the most important thing. But you've got to draw in the midfield at worst. It is the engine room. And it was the turnover that you died. 60 points difference. They killed you on turnover. And I always look at this. Only 25% of your defensive halves became forward 50s. So that says to me, you don't move the ball exciting enough. You're not quick enough. You're not taking the risk. And I would look as an Essendon fan, if I was playing Carlton this week, we play that way. Carlton aren't as strong turnover-wise. Carlton aren't as wily inside 50 defending as Brisbane at the minute. So 20 of them scores won't exist. So we've got a chance if we win around stoppage, and we have that pressure. If we have that pressure on the ball. And as a Blue, I'm looking at it and going, Essendon don't defend the forward 50. If we take the game on and we're bold. And I think this is one of them horrible games for the Blues. The longer you're in it, the longer it's close, the more you start to believe, and the more we pants. We're scared. We want our mums.
It becomes above the shoulders.
At half time, we've got problems. The Blues have got to go in and kill the tail wag before it even wags.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much for joining us, man. I so much appreciate it. Can I just have one last question? And this is just for Bomber fans who don't know Liam McMahon. So obviously in the mid-season draft, we picked up Carlton VFL player Liam McMahon. I think is actually bordering 50-50 to play this game. So if you didn't know, Pommy, in the first half, they played him in defence in the VFL. So they really want him to be a swingman. But obviously we've got real issues with four main defenders, tall defenders out, and basically it's Laverty and Redmond trying to hold down the fort. Tell us about Liam McMahon. What should fans expect?
Well, I mean, he did spend a bit of time in his junior year before Collingwood picked him up.
Collingwood, he was a defender.
Spent a little bit of backline time in his draft year, and he was trialled there, because when you watch Liam play, incredible in the air. Like, that guy, honestly, he's wonderful aerially. For the VFL, probably unlucky not to be on Carlton's list, if we're honest. And Carlton have had an obsession with drafting small forwards because we can't get one right. So every opportunity, Carlton have gone with almost like our inside 50s. Just kick it as many times as you can. And hopefully one of them sticks, and that's our small forward. VFL, one of the most improved players, an incredible leader as well. The development of Harry Lemmy in the last couple of years, primary down to Liam and his selflessness in the forward half. One of the sexiest shots at goal you'll see as well. That guy, you could
Yeah.
set your clock to his kicking. I think he'll be an incredible player. And I did make the joke on the watch along when we did the draft in the mid-season. Can't wait for Essendon to take him because this guy's got 4 goals, fourth quarter against his old club written all over him. So it scares me that you're saying he may debut for you. Definitely a guy that has previous with Carlton. There was a lot of reports coming out of Carlton that when we chose Francis Evans over him, it pissed him off a little bit. So what an opportunity for young Liam. He's finally there. By heck, he deserves to be on an AFL list. And I wish him all the best. But I mean, look, VFL averaging 3.5 goals a game. The guy's no mug. He knows how to play. You put him in the goal square and you kick the ball to him, he can make things happen. And no one's as bad as Carlton's VFL side. Like, I'll be honest, like the fact that bloke has kicked 24 goals with some of the stuff that goes on inside 50 is a miracle. So basically, you've got a good one there. Look after him. And you know what? No one deserves an extension more than Liam McMahon. So apart from this week, I'll root against him, might boo him occasionally as well on the watch along. But after this, wish him all the best because you've got yourself a player there that maximizes his potential. And I said it in the draft when we did the view. Great pickup for you guys because if any of your VFL players get to his level, you've got the benchmarker. Because I think Liam's at his max potential. I don't think he'll get better, but that's the benchmarker for them young lads. Playing alongside him, the minute I get better than this guy is the minute I make it. So wonderful player, and I think he'll do a job for you. I'd trust him forward half of the ground.
No, I agree, and it was funny because when he started off in defence in the VFL, I was kind of making a joke like he hadn't kicked under 2 goals since late 2023.
Yeah,
and I went, of course, we're the club that's going to break it. But we put him in, we put him full forward in the third quarter, kicks 2 goals in 5 minutes, and went, oh well, there you go. So yeah, I think they'll have a real look at him because they do lack height. They're probably 1 tall short. So and out of the talls, he was the only one that actually played in the VFL. The other 2 Western Australian guys still had to move over. So he's probably in some ways the most prepared because he's at least had a game. The VFL obviously very much try to replicate the same system. So at least he's got that in his DNA a little bit. So yeah, it'll be really intriguing. Sunday night, massive clash of traditional disappointments.
Rivals from a while ago.
Yes, clash of traditional 90s revivals. 90s rivals. But it was exciting, and I'm really looking forward to it. I know I'm not to make you feel bad. I'm probably coming from a different angle because we're playing a lot of kids. It feels very exciting because your expectation is a little bit different. You're going, okay, well, no, we're going to be up and down, but yeah, you know, to see Zach Johnson hitting 40-meter passes on the weekend in his debut, you go, well, this is what I want to see. So can't wait. I'd love to say I wish you all the best, but we'll see what happens. Look, if you guys win, it may springboard you to some form, but if we win, then I don't know what that means, but we'll see.
That's the thing. It's going to be incredibly interesting to see out of these 2 underperforming sides that have the ability to be better than they are, to see who's actually like, will the cream rise to the top and just Cripps go, all right, and take over a midfield or something like that? Or like you said, will we be able to bring the kind of pressure that we brought against Brisbane, which was very, very good. And will that be enough to outlast Carlton or get in front or something like that and outlast them? So this is a really interesting game for me. We could get also beat quite badly, Essendon, but like you said, because of the sheer quantity of kids. But really interesting game. I'm really looking forward to it, and I reckon everybody will be looking forward to your review on it after the game and all.
Well, I'd imagine the viewership will increase having done this. Should we lose? I mean, it's an easy team talk for Brad, isn't it? Like you debut Liam McMahon, you tell these young kids that effectively Carlton a one more loss from season over. The season at the minute is on life support,
Yeah.
and I think you're in a great position to do that team talk because you've got Melbourne's pick and you've got your own. So it doesn't really matter if you keep winning and it doesn't matter if you keep losing because you're going to have two picks probably next to each other. And we know in trade and draft, having 7 and 8, 8 and 9, for some reason, list managers value that quite highly, having two picks near each other. So I think it's an easy team talk for you guys. You get a chance to end our season, but on the counter, Carlton have got a chance. There's a great easy team talk for them. Do you want these guys at Tullamarine to end your season? Do you have any respect for yourself? Like, you don't want them to do it. And we've got Collingwood in 4 weeks' time, so they'll want to do that too. So get through this 4 weeks and hopefully we'll have the bragging rights in Melbourne come round 23, hopefully.
Absolutely.
All right, so thank you so much, man. All the best. I know you got another show coming out tonight, which is usually your weekly wrap?
It is. Yeah, the AFL are nice and putting 7 o'clock fixtures on a Sunday, so I've got to change my schedule for the AFL. So hopefully one day I'll be big enough that the AFL work around me. That'd be nice.
Nice. Where can people find you, mate?
So PommyinOz, YouTube, all socials. Just look for the funny accent. We do a little bit of comedy on there as well. I like to think I'm quite funny as well. So come on down. General AFL content. I like glazing. I do know you Essendon fans tell me off in Fiona's stream because I'm quite positive about you Bombers for a Carlton man. And be careful because when I tick Essendon to win, I have 100% success rate this year.
Well,
look out!
You know what to do then.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
I'm not tipping this game just out of principle. I don't want to curse it.
That's good.
No, look, I as you know, I'm a sort of often listener and try and contribute where I can with comments, and I really enjoy the show and fully, I love supporting it, mate, and love supporting just AFL people who are doing these channels and speaking direct to the public and direct to fans, and I so much appreciate it. So I love the work you do, man, and it gives me great content, and I just love enjoying it. Love hearing you talk, and so thank you so much for everything you do, man. I really do appreciate it sincerely.
Hey, mate, I appreciate you hanging around, and we'll have to get you on. We always need guests. I have to get you on the Sunday show, and you can come and rate your Bombers. You've just moved to tier 2, so
yes,
we're trying to get you up. We're trying to get you up the ladder.
No. Well, yeah, I've got to try the quiz, don't I? Because I've with such questions of things that rhyme with sheezel and cheezel. So I feel like I've got a fair chance. So, but yes.
Cheers, mate. Well, thank you very much, guys, for having me. And you know what? I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Best of luck for the rest of the season, starting from Sunday, like just after Sunday.
Likewise.
Yeah, I hope you win all the remaining games after Sunday.
Understandable.
Yeah, hopefully we can celebrate the King's birthday and with a post drunken headache of celebrating. So yes, thank you, man.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Cheers. All the best.
Thanks, Pommy.
Catch up.
Catch later.